The sneaker industry produces 15 billion pairs of sneakers a year. That includes the skins of millions of animals, literal tons of rubber, glue, and plastics, as well as fossil fuels required to transport those materials, the finished products, and finally the shoes once they become trash. And 15 billion pairs of shoes is a lot of trash. As the world changes around us thanks to the human impact on the climate, and the trash piles grow higher, we all must examine our roles in the shift to sustainability. And that's what we're going to do today. Welcome to From the Ground Up. I'm your host, Pete Forrester, and on this episode, we're going to talk to Paul Gaudio, the Global Creative Director of Adidas, to look at recent changes the brand has made to become more sustainable. We will debut a carbon-neutral version of Killing the Game, and finally, chat with Joey Zwillinger from Allbirds, a sneaker startup that began their mission with an eye towards environmental impact. Why did you guys decide to start doing Speed Factory in the first place?
Speed Factory began very much as a lab for automated processes. For us, innovation obviously is going to come from upstream manufacturing, material, and sort of process innovation. There's only so much you can do with traditional methods, traditional materials, so we're exploring the future of how we make things and what we make them out of. And Speed Factory started as that.
I know that you guys are approaching carbon footprint in other ways as well, especially with your relationship with Parley. How did you guys sort of figure out how to take your relationship with this other brand and turn it into a wearable product?
We have for a long time been looking for ways to sort of act as responsibly as we can as a big corporation. I think it's an obligation and it's a passion, I think, for many of us in the company, and it's something we put at the very forefront of sort of how we do business. So there are lots of different programs, and one of the things I think that we all got excited about with Parley is it's not just sort of a replacement plan where, hey, we're going to take virgin polyester and replace it with recycled polyester, which we're doing. And we certainly we're focused on using as much recycled material or creating products that can be recycled or ways to recycle them as we can. The interesting thing about Parley is that every product we make sort of helps solve a problem.
What does the ultimate environmental impact become when you guys are you're pulling that much product out of the ocean?
It's a huge problem.
Yeah.
And so I think we are honestly, even at millions and millions of pairs of shoes, it's just starting to pick at the problem. So while I believe in the power of the program to continue to intercept plastic from headed towards the ocean, I think that's going to make an impact. But I think increasing the awareness as well and encouraging other companies to participate to help solve this problem, to create platforms for people, Run for the Oceans, things like this, to get involved and to understand what's happening, and maybe not just get involved in a cleanup per se, but also change their habits. Yeah. And I think consumers ultimately pressure companies to change their behaviors, and so it's really about activating the consumers and generating that awareness through our actions, but also through that platform that we create. We want to prove that not only these materials can be sort of sourced out of the environment and turned into something that you can wear, but we want to create demand and generate sort of desire around that. And what we've been able to do is not only make product that looks great, but also that works. Right. It's important for us that we use that to create the desire and the acceptance and to make it the new normal.
Welcome to Killing the Game. I am here with Bex Francois from Black Girl Pod and Jameer Pont, perfect, from We Shall Overchug.
There we go.
Thanks for coming today, guys.
Thank you for having us.
You guys ready?
I'm ready.
Awesome. First question. What is the worst sneaker material for the environment? Leather, synthetic leather, mesh, or cotton? Actually, synthetic leather is one of the better materials.
Wow,
You know what?
wow, you cheated.
I'm not looking at your board no more.
So the worst material is leather. Leather is terrible on the environment, but also cotton is also really bad. While cotton represents less than 3% of global farmland, it accounts for 24% of global insecticide usage and 11% of total pesticides. And all that's going into our water system.
Wow.
So you both are at 0 points.
Okay.
Question 2. How much water does it take to make a pair of leather shoes? 100 gallons, 500 gallons, 1,000 gallons, or more than 2,000 gallons? 1,500. You are both wrong.
Wow.
I knew.
An average pair of leather shoes takes 2,110 gallons
Wow.
of water.
Of water?
Of water, which is about the same as 11 hours of continuous running shower water. On average, how many pounds of carbon emissions does each pair of running shoes produce? 5 pounds per pair, 15 pounds per pair, 30 pounds per pair, or 50 pounds per pair?
Everything sounds so bad in this one.
Go ahead and show us. Jameer, you're right. It is 30 pounds per pair. So that is equal to the annual emissions of all cars in New York City for 407 years.
Do we need sneakers that bad? This sounds terrible.
This is why the apostles wore sandals. Because,
What is the least recyclable element of a new pair of shoes? The shoes, the laces, the box, or the silica packets?
now, say,
Can't see.
can we possibly grade on a curve?
Nope.
Wow, that was quick.
All right, show me what you got. You're both wrong.
Wow.
Please.
Please, just in case.
Sneaker boxes
Wow.
are coded for shipping, printing, and extending their life cycles. They're actually completely unrecyclable. Once you're done using them, they go straight into the landfill, whereas everything else can be repurposed.
Now that I know better,
You're not going to do better.
I'm gonna do better. Come on. I mean, you know, I'm adulting.
I learned that, sneakers, while very fashionable, take a big toll on the environment.
What do you guys think are some fixes?
Honestly, I think it's shows like this that kind of teach you. I knew nothing about this, to be honest. I mean, I was just picking C for most of it. Sure. But the fact that now I know a little bit more, it makes me, like Beck said, if you know better, you do better.
We are here with Joey Zwillinger, co-founder and co-CEO of Allbirds at their brand new store in Soho. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Great to have you here.
So you guys started with this idea of sustainability from the very beginning. Why did you make that decision?
Part personal background and part we saw a big need. From my perspective personally, I was actually working in the renewable chemicals industry for quite a while, prior to joining the retail and sneaker business. And when we made that leap, Tim and I remember we had a fun conversation on the deck of my house, and we talked about why we should start a business and why the world needed another sneaker business.
Right. And
I'd happened to have read this book that had a comment about the fact that there's 2.5 billion shoes thrown into landfills every year, and not a lot of thought was being put into the materials that were used in those shoes, and the amount of carbon that was emitted, and just felt like the climate change was really the challenge of our generation. So we thought if we're gonna sink our time, our careers, our energy, and try to raise money from friends and raise money from all these other people, that we should probably do something we thought was important, so we got after it.
Sure. So to the materials point, as far as I'm concerned, wool doesn't seem like the most immediate thought when it comes to a sustainable product. Can you sort of explain to us why wool is so sustainable?
Sure, yeah. It's a great cycle. I mean, these sheep get sheared once a year, and they constantly regenerate the wool on their backs.
Sure.
And so we have this amazing cycle where every year there's this, all the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere gets sucked down by the grass. Sheep eat the grass, metabolize that grass and turn it into wool.
Got it.
We take the wool, shear it off. And so we kind of look at this really objectively, and we try to say all the inputs and all the outputs and quantify that. And our net impact turns out when we use wool is a lot lower than when you use what's traditionally used in the footwear industries, synthetics, plastic, or leathers.
Sure. You also make shoes out of eucalyptus.
Yeah.
So how is eucalyptus sustainable?
Eucalyptus even lower carbon footprint than wool,
Okay.
and so the pace that eucalyptus grows by sucking carbon dioxide, like straight out of the tailpipe, straight into the eucalyptus, and it grows, and then that regenerative cycle is so quick.
Sure.
That we take the eucalyptus pulp and we're able to create this yarn, which has this really silky, soft texture. It's actually got a cooling sensation when you touch it with your hand, so it makes for a really fantastic spring, summer kind of a shoe.
Koalas are really onto something.
Totally, totally. And so that process of sucking carbon out of the atmosphere means that our carbon footprint of our shoe, no pun intended, is the lowest probably of any commercial shoe on the market.
Got it. And so what about the soles? Because I know that sometimes EVAs and these foams and rubbers and plastics materials can be awful.
Yeah, and it's that is a really hard problem.
Yeah.
So it took us a long time to make progress on that. When we started, we used a pretty traditional EVA rubber. So what we did, before we even started the company, we started contacting this group who's now a partner of ours down in Brazil. And we knew from my previous work that we could take sugarcane and we could make sugarcane same way that the eucalyptus sucks carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere to produce the bark and the leaves and whatnot. Sugarcane does it amazingly efficiently. So we knew that we could, using this partner's technology, take sugarcane and translate that into a new foam. And so it took us 2.5 years, 3 years really, and we finally did that. So now we have sugar shoes, and we have a sandal made out of sugar, which is a great showcase for that material because it's really just it's just the foam material. And now we're in the process of rolling that out across our entire line. So it'll be and that sugarcane foam, that resin is a carbon negative resin, which means it sucks more carbon out of the atmosphere than it takes to produce.
So is that coming from the fiber, like once the sugar comes out of the sugar?
It's actually a waste process of the sugar, so it's even better. So when you crush the sugar cane to extract it to make table sugar, there's this leftover juice, and they take that juice and they actually utilize yeast, and it eats it and makes another intermediate step, and then turn that into the foam.
Got it. Okay. Can you talk to us about what the post-consumer life cycle of an Allbirds sneaker looks like?
Sure, yeah, and I think the whole industry and us as well are seeking that holy grail of where you can totally close the loop. And that's just a really hard thing to do. We're making progress down the path of some of the designs we do, and we have, for example, in our sandals, we can take out the strap, and then you have this homogeneous platform, and then you can grind that up and use that for another purpose really effectively. But it's difficult with shoes because you have so many different materials coming together, an upper unit glued onto a bottom unit, and taking that apart is not something you want to be easily done, otherwise it fall apart on the street. So it's just this tension in the industry. So we're working towards doing that. Right now what we focused on is making sure that as many of the components in our shoe are biodegradable. But that's only one step, and we want to get to a place where we can close the loop fully.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for talking to us.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Finally, we want to point out one crucial thing. Trash only exists if we make it. The easiest way to avoid making trash is to take care of what you already own. And when we're talking about footwear, the best thing you can do, other than buying less, is to clean more. Brands like Jason Mark make biodegradable cleaning products balanced to lengthen the life of your footwear so that they'll last longer and fewer pairs end up in the landfill. Caustic cleansers can contribute to negatively impacting our ecosystem, but if you shop around, you can ensure a longer product life without hurting our environment. And that is a good first step. That's it for this episode of From the Ground Up. If you like what you saw, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode. And while you're at it, why don't you drop down below and let us know how you did on killing the game.